Welcome, Reds, to another 100% United transfer special. I'm your host, TC, and I'm joined as usual by my co-host, Scott. Hello, buddy.
Hello, pal.
With loads of rumours linking players with moves to Manchester United, a couple of contract extensions too, but unfortunately today's show is now going to be dominated by the breaking news that Paul Pogba's agent, Mino Raiola, has told the Times that Pogba wants to leave the club, and he's in the process of arranging a transfer away from Old Trafford. We're off on tour in 2 days, awful timing, and more skullduggery from Pogba and his odious agent. Scott, this needs to be resolved quickly. Absolute nightmare, mate.
Yeah, it's pushed me over the brink, mate. I've had enough of it now, and the quicker we get this resolved, the better. And when I say resolved, the quicker we get him out, the better.
Yeah, it just stinks, doesn't it, mate? I mean, we expected something to happen this week, one way or the other, but we didn't expect his agent to come out 2 days before the tour. He's meant to be on the plane on Sunday, and now it's put us in a total mess.
Yeah, it has. And, you know, the content of what he was saying was fair enough, right? Like, they've told everyone in the club that he wants to leave and that everybody within the club knows his intentions.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's just telling everyone else. And it seems pretty useless because, you know, I guess they're just not getting their way, because if they've told everyone in the club that he wants to leave and they're not negotiating with any other teams, then they're just trying to force the hand now, right?
Yeah, well, the problem is it puts us in a weak position, because now he's told the world, and Pogba obviously told the world a few weeks ago. Raiola's now said that now. When asked whether Paul Pogba would go on the tour, he said, "I don't know, I live day to day," which is just a rubbish answer, isn't it?
Nonsense.
And it puts us in a situation where we're already looking for midfielders. Look, Ander Herrera's left the club. We already have a midfield that needs work. We're already looking for some. We're going to need more if Pogba goes. The prices just went up 20%, mate.
Yeah, it really did. You said to me last night that something that I had actually completely forgotten was that the transfer window closes on August the 8th, right?
Yes.
And we've only got a month now, a month and 4 days to be able to put this right. And for 4 of those weeks, we're not even in the country, not even in the continent.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you say, 8th of August, the window slams shut, but only in the UK. So Real Madrid, Juventus, they can still buy players, but we can't buy players to replace those players. So if we go into August and Pogba's still at the club, he's got, 22 days in order to kick up a stink and ruin the start of the season, just like he ruined the end of the last one.
Yeah. Yeah, he really did. And ruined the beginning of it, let's not forget.
Yeah.
He just had a nice little purple patch in the middle where he actually tried, showed what he can do, and then downed his tools again.
Yeah, I mean, I would go as far to say, mate, that he's chucked it in. He chucked in Champions League qualification because it makes it easier for him to leave. For those last few games of the season, he was non-existent, pal. He was, like I said before, he was making his statement with his performances that he wasn't happy. For me, that's just beyond the pale, mate. Now, in hindsight, you can't tell me Pogba couldn't have made more of an effort to get that extra point or two we needed to qualify for the Champions League.
I won't tell you. You will not hear me back him up anymore.
No. And let's remember, mate, because some people are defending Paul Pogba, saying we haven't put the team around him that he deserved, etc., etc., etc. The guy's the world record signing. He's our record signing. We gave him top wages. We brought him back after he ditched us the last time. If you're going to look me in the eye and say we haven't looked after Paul Pogba, you can take a running jump.
Yeah.
It absolutely stinks, mate. And the decision to let Ander Herrera leave now is looking worse by the day. Because if Pogba stays, Pogba's performances from these eyes, he's always been better when Herrera's playing alongside him. That massive run we had with Oli, where Herrera was an ever-present in all those victories.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was obviously missing when it all went to pot. So Herrera's gone as well. So we're losing, for my mind, we lost Herrera. If we lost Pogba too, we've lost 2 out of our 3 starting central midfielders, and the 2 best ones too.
Yeah, but I'm not having this idea that Paul Pogba is the best player on our team when he plays like he does.
No. This
needs to sort itself out, mate, because I don't want the Pogba that finished off last season or began last season. And I just know that he's not going to give it his all, especially if he doesn't get to leave.
Yeah, it's not like Ronaldo in 2008, 2009, where he'd just won us the European Cup, he'd banged in all those goals, and he still performed in 2008, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy him playing for us so much, knowing that he definitely wanted out. But it was a means to an end. It gave us an extra year to get the replacements in and have a smooth breakup.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to end smoothly, mate. If he stays for another year, it's going to be desperate. I don't want to watch Paul Pogba in a Manchester United shirt anymore. I've had enough of it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see him in a United shirt anymore. I don't want it anywhere near the club anymore.
Yeah, and I don't want to listen to him off the field either.
No, he's full of nonsense, mate. And the truth is, like we say, he's come in, he gives it the large one, but his performances haven't been good enough. And you can give me the stats that he was top for this and top for that in the stats last season. And we're not denying that when he's playing well, he's fantastic. We've said that all along.
Yeah.
But this is 2 days before we're off on tour. I was quite excited about today's show, mate. I was going to say, look, let's look at all the incomings, outcomings. We're going to see the boys in action next week. Let's park the whole Pogba thing for a few days because it's going to kick off.
Yeah.
And then today, tore up the script. In comes Raiola. And now we're talking about Pogba leaving again.
Yeah, it's just a complete saga, mate. And every season it just seems like we get stuck in one and we're just made to look like absolute fools year after year.
Yeah, and Ollie's been made to look like a fool too because he did obviously had the interview today with MUTV where he was laying out his ideas for the season, saying that there's probably going to be some more business. Like, you can lose the probably out of that sentence. But he was trying to set the tone for the season, and then a couple of hours later, out comes Raiola, and that whole interview is basically made to look like a load of nonsense.
Yeah, he's upstaging everyone, isn't he? And he did it with Mourinho. Let's not forget, Mourinho is one of the best managers of our generation, and caption this, TC, caption this.
Yeah, and he did Sir Alex Ferguson as well.
Yeah,
let's not forget.
Yeah,
so you can guarantee, say, the two of the top 5 managers of the last 3 decades. Both of them, it's ended in tears. And let's not forget, he was on the verge of getting dropped from that France team when the World Cup was starting. I know people are blaming it on Mourinho and stuff, but he was very close. I mean, he did get dropped, but he was very close to missing out on that World Cup run due to his attitude and his performances. Deschamps, he had to squeeze him into that team in the end, let's not forget.
Yeah, when you sort of get annoyed with him, you sort of ask yourself, what's all the fuss about? And when he brings everyone down, and to be honest with you, he's, apart from De Gea maybe and Lindelof last season, he's maybe one of the only players that were completely undroppable. But when he's not even putting in the effort and when he's stinking up the place, and God knows what he's like in training as well, it must really demoralise players like Fred, players like McTominay, players like Herrera as well, when they're not getting picked because of Pogba, and Pogba's not even putting in a shift.
I know. And you say he's undroppable, but he's not undroppable by the managers because Mourinho did drop him. And Mourinho's reward for that was he got the sack.
Yeah, because I think that Woodward just likes Pogba's commercial lucrativity, you know what I mean? He's very lucrative commercially. And I don't know, but you're absolutely right. And if Mourinho's dropping him, and Mourinho always puts his, well, I shouldn't say always, usually put his team first, you've got to think there's something really wrong with him.
There really is, mate. There really is. And look, the Mourinho mess, Mourinho could have managed it differently. And as we said before, Zlatan leaving had a massive effect on Pogba's attitude, being able to run out of control. And actually, just touching on Zlatan, because I know you said a few weeks ago that maybe we should steer clear of these world-class players and we need to get back to basics. And I do agree with you. I do agree that we need to inject youth and passion back into this side. But we shouldn't take our eyes away from these massive signings either, because Zlatan was great for us. Zlatan was a superb signing. His knee injury, for my mind, started off this catastrophe for Mourinho. But the right kind of player, look, Zlatan's the biggest name we've signed for years, by far. He's a massive, massive name. He came, he was fine at Old Trafford because he's a professional and because he gets on with it and because he produces the goods. So I do agree we don't want bad characters, but I don't agree with a lot of United fans saying we shouldn't sign any more world-class players, we should just build them. I agree we should build them, but also keep our eyes open for the right characters who are world-class too.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think Zlatan was maybe a bit of a break from the norm. Given the other quote-unquote world-class players that we had signed in the last few years, Alexis Sanchez, Paul Pogba, whether he was world-class or not, they just haven't really panned out, right?
Yeah, but out of the players who haven't panned out, when they signed, would you put your hand on heart and say, right, I think this guy mentally is world-class as well as his football? Because Zlatan, I would. When Zlatan walked through the door, I'd be like, Zlatan's got it. Zlatan's got it mentally and he's got it physically. These other guys you're mentioning, Alexis, Pogba, Di Maria, Falcao, there were always question marks about whether it was coming back from an injury, whether it was that they couldn't hack the big stage, whatever it might be. There were question marks when they entered the club.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with that. Maybe I just get wrapped up in the excitement of what the player did at his previous club and thinking that it just translates 100% to his new club. And it doesn't, because the pressures are completely different. And, at least when you bring in these younger signings without the instant pressure on them, then you give them time to acclimatise to, the fan base, and everyone around them thinks that we should win every game.
Yeah. And look, mate, I mean, as we say, the midfield's in tatters, really, if Pogba goes. There's been names chucked around. Now we're hearing that Sean Longstaff at Newcastle, the price is now £50 million, apparently.
Incredible.
So
incredible, mate.
I mean, that
12 games for Newcastle.
It's bonkers.
No goals, no assists.
Honestly, pal.
50 million quid.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Are we just planning for Brexit, or sort of like the effects of Brexit or something? I don't know. Are we just trying to pack the whole team full of players that if some of these new restrictions do come in, then we're not caught with our pants down like we were in 94?
Yeah, exactly. With Gary Walsh in goal.
Yeah.
Yes, mate, I know. There are some foreigners on the list too. Obviously, Tielemans is still there. Bruno Fernandes is still there as well. That if Pogba goes, that seems like an absolute must, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we've been trying to get this over the line for about a month now, mate. And Sky Sports News came out with this brand new information a few days ago that we are interested in Bruno Fernandes. Which, when I read it, I just thought, obviously, there's so much smoke to do with this fire that's just bloody obvious, mate. And it just seemed like such a lazy article to be writing. But apparently his agent was over in England the last few days trying to thrash out a deal. Last week we supposedly activated his release clause, whatever it was, and nothing's coming out of it. I don't know why things are taking so long. And I don't know, mate. I think that everything needs to speeden up now, given the news from today.
Mm-hmm.
But you're absolutely right in that the prices just went up as well, because now everyone knows we're bloody desperate.
Yes, mate. And you know what? This is the problem, right? I wrote on my notes for the podcast today. Before the Pogba news broke, that Pogba may ask to leave before the tour? ? So look, we've got our fingers on the pulse of the club, but we're not inside the club. We don't have a massive inside information or anything like that. But it was quite obvious that this might happen. Now you can't tell me that Ollie and Ed Woodward don't know more than me. They know, they knew this was going to happen. So surely you then get a Fernandes in, you get a Thomas Partey in, or whatever. Or as we're hearing, we were waiting to see what happened with Pogba for Ndombele.
Mm-hmm.
He's already signed for Spurs.
Yeah.
So all these options are becoming more difficult to get. This news, although we're taking it as a surprise, let's be honest, it's not really, is it?
No, it's not. It's not a shock. It's something that I think the most honest of United fans was expecting.
Yeah. So, mate, look, if he goes, we have to rebuild this midfield.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have a bit of cash to do it with, of course. We're saying 150 million for Pogba. How would you like to rebuild this midfield? They're talking that Ollie may play a four-man diamond in midfield. We know he sometimes likes to play a sort of a lopsided 3-5-2, which Wan-Bissaka is probably going to be useful for. What do you think, mate? I mean, how many bodies do we need to replace what we've already got? Pogba gone, Herrera is already definitely gone, and Matic is a year on, so sort of he's going to be a worse option than last year, I would have thought. How many bodies do we need? 3?
I would think so. I was actually reading this morning that Inter Milan offered, I think, 10 million euros and Raja Nangolan for Nemanja Matic this morning, and I think a lot of United fans would bite your hand off with that deal.
10 million plus Nangolan?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There are so many random articles and so many things that come up from unverified sources that you don't really know what to believe, mate. And given how delayed their approach has been for Lukaku, you can't imagine that they're willing to push things over the line like that.
No. Can I just say another one? The Napoli owner, De Laurentiis, has said that he's interested in Lukaku.
Mm-hmm.
So that may kick off another sort of load of rumours with a potential swap deal for Koulibaly. That's something that I would love. If they are interested, they do have a player that we do want. At least there's another club in for Lukaku potentially.
Yeah, to be honest, let's just hope that speeds up the process of just getting him out the door, because that's one that, as we've said, our transfer window closes in a month. Theirs closes in like 8 weeks, and so they're in less of a rush to do it than we are. And let's just hope that interest from another team will speeden up this whole process, mate.
Yes, mate, and I tell you what, the Premier League are absolutely mental for agreeing to that. I can't believe that went through.
Yeah.
It's just bonkers.
Yeah. And they tried to ease it this year by opening the transfer window a couple of weeks early, but it's ridiculous. It puts us at such a disadvantage.
Everyone's on holiday, aren't they?
Yeah.
Another name popped up in AS in Spain today, Saul Niguez of Atletico.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he has a €150 million release clause. This is a nice option that we've got there. We know his release clause, £130 million. if we sold Pogba for 150, got Saul Niguez for 120, you'd think we are, or 130, sorry, you'd think we're getting the bad end of the stick there, but we would be getting a fantastic player to come into that midfield as well.
We would. Someone we've been looking at for quite a few years, someone that City were looking at as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that, to be honest with you, anyone's going to be an upgrade than Pogba's been the last few months. And I'm not talking about the player Paul Pogba can possibly be. I'm talking about the player that he is.
Yep.
And that he's shown himself to be, which is the only Paul Pogba that puts on a United shirt these days, you know?
Yeah.
So I think anyone's going to be an upgrade, mate. I think Andreas Pereira will be an upgrade.
Yes, mate. And let's just quickly look at, you've got Real and you've got Juventus, who are the two clubs that are linked with Pogba. In terms of a swap deal, we all know that Gareth Bale is one of Woodward's favourites.
One of your favourites too, mate.
A potential swap deal. He used to be, yeah. Don't start me off again.
I won't.
I do love Rafael Varane of Real. I think it's a long shot to try and get him included in a deal. But you know what, mate? It's about time we started pulling some stuff off. And if they want Paul Pogba, if they want our record signing, they want the world record signing that we brought in, then we shouldn't be asking for players they want to get rid of. We should be asking for one of their assets too.
Absolutely. I mean,
Rafael Varane plus cash, to me, that's fair. I know Zidane likes him, but the truth is that benefits both parties. We don't have to always get our pants pulled down, do we?
No, we definitely don't. And we don't have to just pick up dead wood to get rid of our best assets, as you say.
Yeah, but they do seem like they're around our ankles a hell of a lot these days. It's true, right?
Yeah, far too much, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Juventus, they got Paulo Dybala.
I would do that.
They're talking about Alexandro again as well.
I would do that, mate.
You would?
Yeah, I would swap him for Paulo Dybala.
Yeah?
In a heartbeat, yeah, I would.
Yeah. The problem is, mate, is that there's plenty of names. Look, if he leaves, then obviously we've got to replace him. If he stays, I can't see him staying, mate. I just can't. I can't stand the sight of him anymore, mate. I really can't. Can't.
I think if he stays, we've still got to replace him because he doesn't offer anything on the pitch anymore.
I know, mate. I know.
You know, he just waltzed around for the last 3 months of the season when we're getting bashed 4-0 at Everton. He's just walking around, couldn't care less. You know, but if he had a watch on, he'd be looking at his watch, see how long is it to go.
It's disgraceful.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm going to double down on it. I'm quite happy to say I believe that Pogba was very, very happy to see us not qualify for the Champions League, so it makes it easier for him to leave now. I'm quite happy to say that now.
Probably.
Yes, mate. So, and look, it puts Ollie in a horrible situation as well because people are now saying that Ollie is, a wet lettuce and a yes man for the Glazers. But what's Ollie's options? He's got to see what he can do with this club. He's got to see, and look, if he leaves, then in his mind, maybe he's leaving the club in the hands of someone who doesn't love the club. It's better for him to stay and to try and find a way to get us back to the top. It seems like he's just between a rock and a hard place, pal.
Yeah, sometimes the problem with having 100 million fans is that you can't please all of them, obviously.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, mate, some of our fans are full of nonsense, mate. It's you got half of them quoting all these statistics. Oh, well, Pogba scored 16 goals, had 12 assists, blah blah blah. He was the best in our team by an absolute mile. And then the next thing I'll say is, well, everyone else was rubbish anyway. So it's you can't please everybody all the time, and you can't even try to, because he's trying to do his own job, and his job is to get results on the pitch, not to keep everyone happy. And sometimes cutting the head off is the best way to move forward, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, for me, going into next season, I know straight away now, I know that I'm going to be happier watching United without Paul Pogba in the team than I would be with him in the team next season. I hate looking at our players and not liking them. Look, even Carlos Tevez, he scored that blooming late goal at Lyon. He scored loads of late goals. He did lots of stuff for us. Mm-hmm. And I still couldn't wait to get him out of the club when he started playing silly buggers. Mm-hmm. And that's Carlos Tevez, pantomime villain. Pogba hasn't done anything for us, mate.
He really hasn't.
That's the thing. He's wound Fergie up so much that Fergie's basically just said, go on, off you go. He's done the same to Mourinho. And now he's doing the same to Ollie. And he hasn't done anything for us, mate. Yeah. Like for a world record transfer fee, yeah, sure, he scored a deflected goal in the Europa League final. And sure, look, when he's gone on a great run, he's been brilliant. But he's made us believe that we have this world-class player that we can rely on. And then just when we start thinking that, he disappears again for 3 months.
Yeah. You have to be fair as well, and that it's not just him as well, right? He is being represented by one of the most serpent-like agents in the entire sport. Someone who I can't remember to quote Fergie what he said, but Fergie bloody hated him as well, and couldn't wait to see the back of Paul Pogba in the first place to get rid of Raiola.
And don't forget, across the road, Pep Guardiola hates Raiola too.
Yeah.
So that's Fergie with his mentality, Guardiola with his very different mentality, but both great managers. They both think Raiola is a complete waste of space.
Because he is,
and
mate.
Let's not forget that. Well, and Guardiola, he shouldn't have said that either. But Guardiola said that Raiola offered Pogba to him last January. Remember?
Yeah, I do.
So, there's all kinds of stuff been going on, mate, that sometimes the fans don't get to see. And I think it's quite clear that we both had enough of Paul Pogba.
Yeah, I think if you look at both destinations he could end up at, Real Madrid and Juventus, he'd probably choose Juventus, as it's less of a challenge to win the league, to do this and that. I think it's a huge job over there at Real Madrid. And if anything, I think that maybe getting Dybala in exchange, there wouldn't be so much pressure on Dybala, because it's not like the swap deal with Mkhitaryan with Sanchez, in that we sort of got the better end of that stick.
Did we?
Well, on paper at the time.
What was on the stick? Dear me, I think it was everything rubbish on both, wasn't it? Dear me. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to look. I'm just trying to look at the best way out of this predicament that we're in, mate.
I know, mate. The good thing is that when Pogba, if Pogba does go to Madrid, he'll realise the grass is not so green on the other side. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they'll be booing him in a month.
Of course they will. The white hankies will be out, and we'll see. And don't get me wrong, we might have to survive a few months of Pogba banging them in and proving everyone wrong, in inverted commas. Just like he proved Mourinho wrong, remember?
Yeah, of course.
For a couple of months, and then now he's proven Mourinho right.
Yeah.
Now everyone's looking at Pogba saying, you know what? Actually, Mourinho wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
It was you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yes, mate. But listen, pal, it's an absolute stinker. I was really looking forward to seeing the lads back together again, and now we're faced with this saga again. Ollie's first press conference of the tour is going to be an absolute blooming mess, and it's all on Pogba and Raiola's head again. So, not great news, mate.
Yeah, but let's hope that something like this can galvanise the players that we do have, and we can move on from here and sort of onwards and upwards.
Yes, mate. And I think it is pushing us fans further and further into the camp of we're happy. We're happy to take some losses. We're happy to be patient if the players are putting in the effort, if the players are showing the heart, and if we're moving in the right direction. And maybe it's time to start building again, like we talked about. And if someone doesn't want to be on the journey, no probs, because we were here before Paul Pogba. We'll be here after Paul Pogba, and we'll be fine. It's just a real shame when someone just decides to disrespect the club like he has.
Yeah, I've had enough of this circus, mate, and we just need to move on from it.
Yes, mate. So look, we have a couple of new deals signed. Axel Tuanzebe signed to the club till 2022. Andreas Pereira signed till 2023. Pereira said that the city and the club is my home. Tuanzebe said that the club means everything to him and his family. So two people who are talking the right language and signed to the club for another 3 to 4 years each.
Yeah, and both of their contracts were going to expire at the end of next season anyway. So, I think they're both born and bred United players, have been at the club for a long, long time each, and sort of understand the culture of the club.
Yeah, and what do you think? Was Tuanzebe's pen made by the same company that De Gea's fax machine was?
Well, I mean, it's funny because, like, if there was a lid to his pen, they would have zoomed in and turned around that contract and see that it doesn't even say anything anyway.
Of course it doesn't.
And they'd be like, well, why has he got a pen out anyway? Because that contract doesn't say anything anyway. I know, mate. You can't win either way, mate.
It's just a little bit of fun, really. And just a little bit of fun.
But, let's hope he is a quote-unquote magician.
Yeah, absolutely. And he looks it when he plays. He's a great player. And look, he's one of these guys who've got United in his heart. And he has had a great season. Mm-hmm. And look, we've got a long history of bringing you through. And hopefully, I've got high hopes for Axel. Really high hopes.
Yeah, I do too.
Absolutely, mate. So the Harry Maguire rumours continue. Across the press, they were saying we put in a £70 million bid the other day. And Leicester are holding out for a world record for a central defender. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure. I mean, Harry Maguire is not the best centre-back in the world, obviously. But it looks like we are going to have to pay a little bit more to get Maguire over from Leicester.
Well, that's exactly why. That's exactly why they're holding out, because they know we'll bloody pay for it, mate.
Yeah. But nice little story, actually, about Harry Maguire. Andy Mitten was saying that he played against, funnily enough, a Pogba-inspired United youth team. where Sheffield United lost the second leg 4-1. He got concussed, and our old mate Sir Alex Ferguson gave him a call and wished him luck, and said that he sees a top player in him. And Harry Maguire apparently vowed to play for United after that call. So that's a nice little link. And also that Mike Phelan actually gave Maguire his debut at Hull. So Phelan is one of the ones pushing this deal too. So that's a nice little sort of background story to this Maguire deal itself.
That is, mate. I didn't know either of those stories. There's some good intel from UTC.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, it looks like we are going to get another centre-back in. It just depends. Like we said before, if the Maguire price goes up too high, it pushes us into the territory of some of the other players we were looking at. Like you say, the old Brexit lineup would be continued with Maguire in there. What do you think, mate? Do you think we should go all out for Maguire and just pin it on him totally? Or do you think, are you still a Koulibaly man?
I just don't. I think there's an enormous pressure that's going to come with being a £100 million defender or a £90 million defender.
Yep.
And I'm just not convinced that Harry Maguire's massive shoulders, as they are, would be enough to support that weight.
Yeah. One other name, obviously, we threw in there the other week, Samuel Umtiti of Barcelona. They've apparently put a £54 million price tag on his head.
Euro?
No, pound.
I thought it was €54 million, £45 million.
In that case, it's even better.
Yeah.
But obviously, he's been carrying this knee injury. But that's a bit more like it in terms of price, isn't it?
It is. It definitely is. Players can recover from knee injuries. Look at Ruud van Nistelrooy. Look at Roy Keane. I would maybe give a bit more attention to this case because I think that our midfield, as we've just said, needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we just need to get someone in over the line in central defence sooner than later.
Yeah, and I will say, if we do get rid of Pogba, if you do recoup 150 million, let's hope that little thing we talked about, that if we sold Pogba for 150, I hope that is not sort of just popped in the bank and we still spend the same amount of cash we were going to. If Pogba goes, we need to reinvest that whole 150 million back into the squad.
Yeah, definitely. This can't be another 2009 where we just stuck £80 million of Ronaldo's sales straight in our pocket and never spent it and never replaced him. It's been 10 years, we still haven't replaced Ronaldo.
No. And let's be fair though. You can replace a player in different ways. We never replaced Roy Keane. We still haven't replaced Roy Keane. Remember, everyone slagged off the signing of Carrick.
Yeah.
Well, not everyone. A lot of people did. That was my first year with a season ticket at Old Trafford, so I saw Scholesy and Carrick blossom in that first year, 06-07. And look, people were on Carrick's back, because he wasn't Roy Keane. By the end of it, people in hindsight looked back and said, oh, actually, Michael Carrick's been a magical servant for the club, and he allowed us to develop a different style of football.
Yeah.
So look.
Yeah, all that pressure was just so wasted energy.
And remember, everybody said £18 million are the biggest waste of cash. I can't believe you spent 18 million on Michael Carrick. Yeah, after a decade at the club, didn't seem so expensive after all, did it?
Definitely not.
And a blooming good character too. Loved watching Michael Carrick play. And actually,
lovely guy.
That season 06-07 was really cool. Scholesy and Carrick, they made fools out of so many midfields.
Yeah.
It was just the two of them against three-man midfields, and they were having a laugh, pal. They really were. At times, they'd do, forget a 1-2, they'd do a 1-2-3-4-5 between each other, just messing around with the opposition. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's where the old really men against boys phrase came from, right?
Yeah, it was. And we had Ronaldo as an out-and-out winger as well.
Yeah.
Man, that was a cool year. A really cool year. Underrated year, actually.
Yeah. And you know what? We won the league pretty comfortably that year and then ended up strengthening what we had instead of, which was just such a great place to be in, right? Like we just won the league and then we go and sign Anderson, Nani, Hargreaves, some great midfielders at that time. And we were strengthening an already great team. And here we are 10 years on. Who would have thought we were in such a hole?
I know, mate. I know. Moving on, pal. The Women's World Cup. Disappointment and glory for United players. Let's start with the glory. Fantastic stuff. Jackie Groening, we wished her luck going into the semis, and she hit the winner outside the box, 25 yards.
Yeah.
Fantastic passion in the celebration as well. Well done, Jackie. Off to the World Cup final.
Yeah, let's hope she wins it.
Yeah, let's hope, mate. Let's hope. Unfortunately, England girls are out. Greenwood and McManus fell to the United States. Can we just have a little word about this celebration? Because obviously Alex Morgan scored for the States and sipped a cup of imaginary tea as a celebration. Everyone's going mad and saying it's disrespectful and this, that, and the other. I mean, come on, how soft are we going to get?
I tell you what, if England had won, no one would have paid any attention to it. They're just pissing and moaning that they lost. I actually thought she was doing something else. I thought she was smoking a wee doobie, and I was thinking she could do.
I thought she was too.
She could do the same celebration against the Netherlands on Sunday.
Yeah, mate. I mean, come on. Look, if you're...
That's just bitter grapes, mate. Bitter grapes.
It's pathetic, really. Have a sip of tea, do what you want. I mean, the thing to do when someone winds you up with the celebration is just put it in your back pocket, wait, and then next World Cup, when you beat America, get a big imaginary burger out, eat it, and then pretend to get really fat. It's quite simple. You know what I mean? You know, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? You know,
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. But anyway, good luck to Jackie Groening anyway in the final, and well done to the English girls too. It's been quite a cool World Cup for the women, to be fair.
It definitely has. It just shows how football is the most popular sport in the world, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And as we say, good luck, Jackie. Bit of sad news for one of our boys, Alexis Sanchez, out of the Copa America. Trashed 3-0 by Peru.
Battered.
It's probably good for us, really, because that allows him to come back a bit earlier, or for us to sell him a bit earlier. What's going to happen with Alexis, mate? It's another glaring sore thumb sticking out of our team.
I just said a few weeks ago, I think we're going to be stuck with him, mate. I really do.
If we're stuck with him and Pogba, then dear me, I'll be watching through my fingers all blooming season.
Yeah, I'd like to get rid of both of them. I think it's just going to be one, but you know, I've got more hope about Alexis Sanchez coming good than I do about Paul Pogba nowadays. So I think that, if anything, he tried a lot harder than Pogba has in the last few months. And let's just hope that he's rewarded for his efforts.
Yes, mate. Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, mate, we were hoping to send us off on tour with a lovely positive pod. Talk about the team, talk about the elements of the team, the youngsters we might see on tour, and all the rest of it. But unfortunately, once again, Paul Pogba seems to want to be the headline, but for all the wrong reasons. And instead, we're talking about him wanting out of the club, just like we were a few weeks ago.
Yeah. You know, you're mad if you don't want this circus to end as soon as possible.
Yeah, let's hope this doesn't drag on and on, pal. Thanks for listening again. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify. 5-star ratings are always appreciated. Follow us at United100 Podcast on Instagram. We'll be back on Monday with what we hope will be a more enjoyable and positive pod. Thanks for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you, pal.
Cheerio, Reds.
Ta-ra.